Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, Clive Myrie. In the spotlight tonight are Ben Whitworth, a librarian. His specialist subject is the history of the Orkney Islands. Anu Mitra, a doctor. He'll be answering questions on the films of Laurel and Hardy. Eleanor Jardine, a retired civil registrar whose subject is the 20th century food writer Elizabeth David. And Keshava Guha, a writer. His subject, the cricketer Sir Garfield Sobers. Dear viewers, thank you for joining us for another evening of fun and frolics. Well, it'll be fun for you. I'm not sure that's the word our four contenders would use for the trials they're about to face. You see, as the clock ticks down, they'll have to navigate 2 minutes of questions on their specialist subject and 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, all while seated in the famous, forbidding black chair. They're brave souls, and we wish them the very best of luck. So, for a place in the semi-finals, can I ask our first contender to join us, please? Your name?
Ben Whitworth.
Your occupation?
Librarian.
And your specialist subject?
The history of the Orkney Islands.
The Scottish island group that has been home to human settlers since the Stone Age. In 2 minutes. Starting now, the most substantial Mesolithic site in Orkney, known as Lynx House, and dating back to around 6,900 BC, is on which island?
Stronsay.
Yes. What was the first name of the King of Norway who, according to the Orkney Inga saga, established the earldom of Orkney in the 9th century?
Harold.
Yes, Iron Age fortified homes, known as brochs, line the shores of which stretch of water between the islands of Mainland and Rousey?
Einhallow Sound.
Yes, in 995, which Viking leader invited the ruler of Orkney, Earl Sigurd, onto his ship and gave him the choice of converting to Christianity or being killed?
King Olaf Tryggvason.
Yes, which English vice admiral died in 1557 when his boat capsized as he tried to return to his ship following a failed attempt to capture the bishop's palace in Kirkwall?
Sir John Clear.
Yes. In 1231, which castle on Wyre was besieged by the kinsmen of Earl John after it was occupied by his murderers who'd fled there from Thurso?
Cubby Roos Castle.
Yes, according to the historian Tacitus, the Orkney Islands were conquered around AD 80 by a fleet sent by which Roman governor of Britain?
Agricola.
Yes. Which battle for control of Orkney was fought in 1529 between two branches of the Sinclair family on moorland to the south of Stenness?
The Battle of Somerdale.
Yes, the scuttling of the German high seas fleet at Scapa Flow on the 21st of June 1919 was witnessed by children on a school outing aboard which boat?
Flying Kestrel?
Yes, a memorial at DNS commemorates more than 200 members of which Scottish religious movement who drowned in 1679 when the ship taking them to Barbados as slaves hit nearby rocks?
The Covenanters.
Yes, which Neolithic tomb contains Norse graffiti that mentions a great treasure, with one inscription naming Håkon as the person who carried it away?
Maeshowe.
Yes, during the Napoleonic Wars, the two Martello towers built on Hoy to protect the anchorage at Longhope were constructed at Hackness and on which headland?
Linus.
No, Crockness. Who was the father, I've started so I'll finish, of Earl Ronald, who advised his son to build a stone minster and supervised the construction of St. Magnus Cathedral when building work began in 1137?
Cole.
It is Cole. And Ben, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 12 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Anu Mitra.
Your occupation?
Doctor.
And your specialist subject?
Films of Laurel and Hardy.
The film comedy starring Hollywood's classic Odd Couple. In 2 minutes, starting now. The song performed by Laurel and Hardy in Way Out West, which reached #2 in the UK singles chart in 1975, is entitled The Trail of the what?
Lonesome Pine.
Yes, in one of his early film roles, which future horror star appears in A Chump at Oxford as one of a group of students who play pranks on the new arrivals Stan and Ollie.
Peter Cushing.
Yes, what's the name of the little pig in Babes in Toyland who is pignapped by the villain Silas Barnaby, but later rescued by Stanny, Dum and Ollie D?
Little Elmer?
Yes, Elmer. In the Oscar-winning short, The Music Box, starring the duo as delivery men trying to transport a piano, what name does Ollie give the horse that pulls their wagon?
Pass.
Which Australian-born actress plays Ollie's blackmailing old flame in Chickens Come Home and his wife in a number of other films?
Mae Bush.
Yes. What's the full name of the vet who's sent for by Stan when Ollie feigns illness in Sons of the Desert and who prescribes a sea voyage to Honolulu as the only cure?
Dr. Smith.
No, Horace Medic. In Pack Up Your Troubles, the pair are looking after a young girl who tells Stan what bedtime story which soon sends him off to sleep?
Goldilocks and Three Bears.
Yes, in Busybodies, Stan consults what he thinks is the blueprint for the window frame that Ollie's trapped in, only to be told it's actually the design for what major structure?
The Hoover Dam.
Yes, the Boulder Dam. When Ollie's new wife refers to Stan as one of her husband's knickknacks in Blockheads, Ollie explains that a knickknack is a thing that sits on top of what?
A whatnot.
Yes, in County Hospital, Stan is told that Ollie's room is next to the solarium. How does Stan mistakenly refer to the solarium when he gets lost and has to ask again?
The aquarium.
Yes, in Swiss Miss, the pair are mousetrap salesmen who travel to Switzerland because Stan reckons there will be more mice there as they make so much cheese. What's the name of their mousetrap company?
Pass.
It's Miracle. And you had just the one other pass in the Oscar-winning short, The Music Box, starring the duo as delivery men trying to transport a piano. Ollie calls a horse Susie. And at the end of that round, Anu, you've got 8 points. And our next contender, please. Your name?
Eleanor Jardine.
Your occupation?
I'm a retired civil registrar.
And your specialist subject?
Elizabeth David.
The cookery writer who changed the way the British thought about food and drink in the years after the Second World War. In 2 minutes, starting now. What's the name of the Sussex family home where Elizabeth David was born in 1913?
Wootton.
Yes, Wootton Manor. Which influential 19th century cookery writer did David admire for the clarity and detail of her general instructions, her brisk comments, her no-nonsense asides?
Hilda Lale.
No, Mrs. Beaton. David lived in which village on the Greek island of Syros, where she learned to cook with basic Mediterranean ingredients?
Skios.
No, Vari. A book of Mediterranean food. David's first to be published in 1950 had illustrations and a cover design by which artist?
John Minson.
Yes. What fruit, which she obtained from Raynham Hall in Essex, does David state makes the most delicious version of summer pudding, with the next best ingredients being raspberries and red currants?
Mulberries.
Yes. What dish, adapted from an 18th century recipe by John Farley, master of the London Tavern, does David describe as the best and most subtle of all English potted meat inventions?
Potted tongue.
Yes. Which dried herb did David dislike intensely, saying it deadens the food with its musty, dried blood scent?
Tarragon.
No, sage. David based her recipe for what pudding on one from a 1695 notebook belonging to a Mrs. Owen, a resident of Penross on Anglesey?
Gooseberry Fool.
No, quince fool. In September 1962, David travelled to which French city to visit a canning factory, as she'd always wondered how sardines got into the tin?
Nantes.
Yes. What kitchen implement did David totally dismiss, describing it as a ridiculous and diabolical instrument that is utterly useless?
Garlic press.
Yes, David gave a rare television interview for the documentary Matters of Taste on her 76th birthday in 1989. Who was the presenter?
Derek Cooper.
No, Jancis Robinson. On which street in Chelsea did David live and work from 1947 until her death in 1992?
24 Halsey Street.
It was 24 Halsey Street. And Eleanor, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 7 points.
Thank you.
And our final contender, please. Your name?
Keshava Guha,
Your occupation?
writer.
And your specialist subject?
The Garfield Sobers.
The life and career of the great West Indies cricket all-rounder born in Barbados in 1936. In 2 minutes, starting now. What was the name of the school that Garfield Sobers helped to win the primary school inter-school cricket championship for 3 consecutive years?
Bay Street Boys School.
Yes, in his early teens, Sobers were too young to sign up for the police, so in order to be eligible for their cricket team, he joined the Forces Band, having spent a few weeks learning what musical instrument?
Bugle.
Yes, in 1953, at the age of 16, Sobers was a late replacement in the Barbados team, playing India, and was chosen to bowl 89 overs by which West Indies all-rounder who captained the side?
John Goddard.
Yes, Sobers made his Test debut in 1954 and took his first Test wicket by having which opening batsman caught behind for 23?
Trevor Bailey.
Yes, Sobers and his wife Prue had 2 sons, Matthew and Daniel, and an adopted daughter, Genevieve, who was born in which South American city?
Bogota, Colombia.
Yes, just before his appearance on This Is Your Life, Sobers was at a reception at the Barbados High Commission in London, expecting to meet which member of the royal family?
Princess Margaret.
Yes, Sobers was involved in a fatal car accident in September 1959 when he was driving to London with Collie Smith and which other player as his passengers?
Dewdney.
Yes, Sobers was invited on the Bermuda leg of a tour by which English county in 1964, scoring a century on his debut?
Yorkshire.
Yes. On the eve of a test match in India in December 1966, Sobers gifted a new pair of cricket shoes to an Indian batsman who was due to make his debut. What was the debutant's name?
Farouk Engineer.
No, Ajit Wadikar. Before scoring 150 in his final test at Lord's, Sobers had spent the whole night out drinking with which former West Indies spinner?
Scarlett.
Yes, Sobers played much of his club cricket in the north of England, including 5 years at Radcliffe in the Central Lancashire League and a season in 1975 with which other club also in that league?
Littleborough.
Yes. What was the name of his batting partner when Sobers became the first player in history of first-class cricket to hit 6 sixes in a single over?
Smith.
No, John Parkin. 5 of Sobers' 26 Test match centuries were achieved at English venues, these being Lord's, Headingley and which other ground?
Trentbridge.
No, Old Trafford. And Kishava, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 10 points. At the end of the specialist subjects round, let's have a look at the scores. In 4th place with 7 points, it's Eleanor. In 3rd place with 8 points comes Anu. In 2nd place with 10 points, it's Kishava. And in 1st place with 12 points, it's Ben. So now the general knowledge round, and if there's a tie at the end, then the number of passes is taken into account and the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, it's a tie break. So let's ask Eleanor to join us again, please. Eleanor, you start with 7 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. In the Gregorian calendar, which month of the year has the shortest name with just 3 letters?
May.
Yes, in a common expression, if something small or insignificant is taking on an inflated degree of importance and dominating a situation, it's said that the tail is wagging the what?
Dog.
Yes, what branch of science, sometimes known as fossilology, is the study of extinct animal and plant life using their preserved remains?
Paleontology.
Yes, which American actor's final film role was in the 1976 Western The Shootist, in which he plays a terminally ill gunfighter?
John Wayne.
Yes, in Roman mythology, what were the names of the twin sons of Rhea, Silvia?
Pass.
In July 2021, which Irish band, fronted by Bono's son Elijah Hewson, had a UK #1 with their debut album, It Won't Always Be Like This?
Pass.
A poem with the words, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses," was originally written to raise funds for the pedestal for what New York landmark?
The Statue of Liberty.
Yes, what's the basic unit of currency of Bulgaria?
The Real.
No, Lev. In 2002, which South American country won the FIFA World Cup for the 5th time?
Argentina.
No, Brazil. Which 16th century Queen of England reigned for only 9 days before she was deposed and was succeeded by Mary Tudor?
Lady Jane Grey.
Yes, in the 2021 Star Wars spin-off television series about the exploits of a former bounty hunter turned crime lord, what's the name of the title character played by Temuera Morrison?
Pass.
Which American painter, noted for his graffiti art, was the subject of a 2010 documentary film subtitled The Radiant Child?
Jeff Koons.
No, Jean-Michel Basquiat. The international airport with the code LBA in Yeadon in northern England is within 10 miles of Leeds, and which other city?
Bradford.
Yes. What name, derived from the French for potful, is given to a dough-like material often made from linseed oil and powdered chalk that's used to seal window panes and fill holes in woodwork?
Putty.
Yes. In music notation, what sign indicating that a note should be raised in pitch by one semitone closely resembles a hash symbol?
Shop.
Yes. What's the better-known name of the climbing plant Humulus lupulus, parts of which, when dried, are used to give beer its bitter taste?
Hop.
Yes. What name from the Arabic word for the number 50 is given to the hot, I've started so I'll finish, hot dry wind that blows across North Africa and Arabia for a period of about 50 days each year?
Scirocco.
No, it's the Khamsin.
Ah, thank you.
So, Eleanor, you had 3 passes in the 2021 Star Wars spin-off television series about the exploits of a former bounty hunter termed Crime Lord. The name of the title character is Boba Fett. In July 2021, which Irish band fronted by Bono's son Elijah Hewson had a #1 hit? It's Inhaler. And in Roman mythology, the names of the twin sons Romulus and Remus. And at the end of that round, Eleanor, you've got 17 points.
Thank you.
Next up, it's Anu. So, Anu, you start with 8 points. The score to beat as it stands is 17 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Starting now. In geometry, a hexagon has how many sides?
6.
Yes, the surnames of the comedy duo who performed together on the sketch show The Two Ronnies in the 1970s and 80s were Barker and what?
Corbett.
Yes, Golden Wonder and Mayan Gold are varieties of what vegetable?
Potato.
Yes, the collective term unkindness normally refers to a flock of which birds of the crow family?
Raven.
Yes, which musician and DJ had UK hit singles in the late 1990s with the Rockefeller Skank, Praise You, and Right Here, Right Now?
Fatboy Slim.
Yes, the Dreamland Amusement Park, which opened in 1920, is in which seaside resort in Kent?
Dartford.
No, Margate. Which American actress won an Oscar for her performance in the title role of the 2021 film The Eyes of Tammy Faye?
Meryl Streep.
No, Jessica Chastain. Civil contingencies committees, which are organised to discuss matters of national emergency in the UK, are usually known by what name derived from the initials of the Cabinet Office briefing rooms?
Cobra.
Yes, which Scottish crime writer created the private detective Kate Brannigan, the subject of a series of 1990s books that includes Deadbeat, Clean Break and Blue Jeans?
Val McDermid.
Yes. In 2021, which Australian city was chosen to host the 2032 Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games?
Melbourne.
No, Brisbane. Which active volcano on the island of Sicily rises to more than 10,000 feet and is one of the highest in Europe?
Etna.
Yes. Which American media tycoon and philanthropist founded the television channel Cable News Network, or CNN, in 1980?
Ted Rogers.
No, Ted Turner. Mozart's last 3 string quartets, number 21, 22 and 23, written for King Friedrich Wilhelm II, are collectively known by what name?
Pass.
In his stage act, which knighted Liverpudlian stand-up comedian and entertainer who died in 2018 often held multicoloured feather dusters as props, which he called his tickling sticks?
Ken Dodd.
Yes, in Greek mythology. What was the name of the nymph who was cursed by Hera with an inability to speak except to repeat the last few words of others?
Echo.
Yes, which US Secretary of State, who died in 2022, wrote the 2003 memoir Madam Secretary and a 2012 book entitled Prague Winter about her childhood?
Madeleine Albright.
Yes, the name of what sugar, sometimes known as milk sugar, is partly derived from the Latin word for milk.
Lactose.
It is lactose. I know just the one pass. Mozart's last 3 string quartets, number 21, 22 and 23, collectively known as the Prussian quartets. And at the end of that round, you've got 20 points.
Thank you.
And now, it's Kishava's turn, please. Kishava, you start with 10 points. The score to beat as it stands is 20 points. And you've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge, starting now. What unit of time is defined as 1/60th of a minute?
A second.
Yes, in physics, a continuous sound that has a wide range of audible frequencies, all with the same intensity, is known as white what?
Noise.
Yes, which one of the Bronte sisters wrote under the pseudonym Ellis Bell?
Emily.
Yes, which BBC channel returned to broadcast television in February 2022, 6 years after it was moved online?
BBC 4.
No, BBC 3. Muriatic acid is an old name for what acid?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Muriatic acid is an old name for what acid?
Lactic acid.
No, hydrochloric acid. Which American soul singer had UK hit singles with Got to Give It Up in 1977 and Sexual Healing in 1982?
Marvin Gaye.
Yes. What name, the Latin word for lentil, is given to the transparent structure behind the iris of the eye, whose function is to focus images onto the retina?
The cornea.
No, lens. The American Civil War was effectively ended at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia in April 1865, when Ulysses S. Grant accepted the surrender of which Confederate general?
Robert E. Lee.
Yes. What's the two-word term for the illegal buying or selling of stock market securities based on confidential information not available to the general public?
Insider trading.
Yes. Which British theatre director founded the Royal Shakespeare Company in 1960 and was later the director of the National Theatre in London?
Peter Hall.
Yes, according to a common expression meaning that too close an association with someone may lead to a loss of respect for them. Familiarity breeds what?
Contempt.
Yes, the writer Dostoevsky and the composer Tchaikovsky are buried in the cemetery of the Alexander Nevsky Monastery in which Russian city?
St. Petersburg.
Yes, in the Rocky film franchise. What's the surname of the title character?
Balboa.
Yes, the dancer Jane Avril was the subject of posters for the Moulin Rouge cabaret painted in the 1890s by which French artist?
Toulouse-Lautrec.
Yes, which racecourse in southern England hosts a summer festival described alliteratively by the adjective glorious?
Goodwood.
Yes, what's the usual word for a type of template consisting of a thin sheet of card, metal or plastic, with letters or a design cut out from it, so that when paint is spread over it, the letters or design are marked onto the surface beneath?
Blueprint.
No, stencil. The Goliath bird eater with a leg span of up to 11 inches is one of the world's largest species of what creature?
Spider.
Yes. What song, originally written in the 1920s by Breton Vile for the Threepenny Opera, has been recorded by Louis Armstrong, Frank Sinatra and many others and was a UK hit single for Bobby Darin in 1959?
Mac the Knife.
Yes, it was Mac the Knife. Kishava, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got a total of 24 points. And finally, let's have Ben again, please. Ben, you start with 12 points. The score to beat to get through to the semi-finals is Kishava's 24 points, and you've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Starting now. What word meaning foolish or mad precedes the word golf in a novelty version of the game played on a putting course with various obstacles?
Crazy.
Yes, in April 2022, which British broadcaster was announced as the winner of the United Nations Champions of the Earth Lifetime Achievement Award, the UN's highest environmental honour?
David Attenborough.
Yes, on an automatic vehicle's gear stick, the letter D, which is selected to engage the forward gear, stands for what word?
Drive.
Yes, Robert Plant is best known as the lead singer of which British rock band formed in 1968?
Led Zeppelin.
Yes, the violent purge of the Nazi leadership ordered by Adolf Hitler in June 1934 became known as the Night of the what?
Long Knives.
Yes, in what 2000 novel by Meg Cabot does a New York teenager become the heir to the throne of the fictional European country of Genovia?
The Princess Diaries.
Yes, what word for a period of isolation intended to prevent the spread of an infectious disease is derived from a 17th century Italian term for 40 days?
Quarantine.
Yes, which actor and television presenter married the actress and writer Mira Sayal in 2005?
Charlie Brooker.
No, Sanjeev Bhaskar. Dakar is the capital city of which country in West Africa?
Senegal.
Yes, which chemical element is known in French as azote, from the Greek words for without and life?
Carbon.
No, nitrogen. In most professional darts tournaments, each player begins a game on what score, with the number of points from each throw being deducted from this total.
501.
Yes, which American Ivy League university established in Saybrook, Connecticut in 1701, but later relocated to nearby New Haven, is named after a Welsh merchant whose donations helped to fund it.
Yale.
Yes, Ray Milland and Billy Wilder won acting and directing Oscars respectively for what 1945 film about a writer's struggle with alcohol addiction?
Long Day's Journey into Night.
No, The Lost Weekend. In 1979, the surgeon Terence English performed an operation that's generally acknowledged to have been the first successful human transplant in the UK of which organ?
The Heart.
Yes. What 1798 poem of Samuel Taylor Coleridge features the often misquoted lines, "Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink"?
The Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Yes. Which 20th century US president had the middle name Milhouse?
Richard Nixon.
Yes. What's the full title of the long-running Radio 4 horticulture series, often referred to informally as GQT?
Gardener's Question Time.
Yes. What name from a French word for a cauldron or stew pot is given to a thick North American seafood soup commonly made with clams?
Chowder.
It is chowder. And Ben, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've done it. You've got 27 points.
Thank you.
What a high-scoring game. Let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 17 points, Eleanor. In third place with 20 points, it's Anu. In second place with 24 points, Kishava. But in first place with 27 points, it's Ben, which means he goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. If you would like to be a contender in the next series, please go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us, as ever, at Mastermind Quiz. Join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Well, I was very nervous walking across to the black chair, but as soon as I sat down and Clive looked at me and put me at my ease, I was fine.
And your specialist subjects?
The history of the Orkney Islands. The reason I chose the history of the Orkney Islands as my specialist subject is that I lived in Orkney for 10 years and worked for Historic Environment Scotland there. And so it was a subject that I knew about and was passionate about, but also because Magnus Magnusson was a great lover of Orkney, so it seemed an appropriate choice for the 50th anniversary series of Mastermind.
Iron Age fortified homes known as brochs line the shores of which stretch of water between the islands of Mainland and Rousey?
Hallow Sound.
Yes.
The Covenanters.
Yes.
Col.
It is. Col.
While I was watching the general knowledge round, and particularly Kishava's performance, I really thought there was no chance I was going to win this heat.
In second place with 24 points, Kishava, but in first place with 27 points, it's Ben.
I've been watching Mastermind for years, and it really is the Everest of quizzing, so I would like to get to the final and hopefully become the Mastermind champion, but there is a very long way to go.